Now, it is a real pleasure to welcome to the program Danielle Lindner, who is a certified early education and elementary teacher in New Jersey, contributor to the Huffington Post, educator, children's book author. She wears so many hats. She's even the founder of the London Day School. Ms. Lindner, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, parents are teaching kids the wrong kinds of values?
Well, not all parents. There are a lot of great parents. And I think we also have some great parents that just need a little help. So, when you have the 2-year-old that runs into the classroom in his Princeton sweatshirt and he says, "I'm going to Princeton like Daddy," I think we need to teach parents to let's focus on, maybe what's happening at a 2-year-old level. Let's teach them how to share. Let's teach them not to be so egocentric, to be kind, transition well, be a team player. And eventually that probably will get them to Princeton, but I think we need to dial it down a little bit.
One of the reasons I wanted you on is as I read through this, I thought, well, some of this I agree with, but some I don't. For example, you say that children are likely, when they're asked the questions, to rank hard work above fairness. What's wrong with that?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I think that, hard work is important. Being fair is important. But, with every situation, you have to weigh, you have to weigh both of them based on each situation. So I don't think you can pick which is right or wrong. I think it really depends.
I guess I wonder, when you say 80% of youth picked high achievement or happiness as their top choice, only 20% selected caring for others. But I've always found that it's a whole lot easier to care for others if you've already managed to accomplish some things yourself, because then you can spare the time and the effort and perhaps the resources to make that happen. It's a whole lot harder to do it if you haven't.
That is true. I think from a charitable perspective, absolutely. It's really hard to be charitable if you can't put food on your table. Absolutely. But I think, if you're working on a assembly line with another person, you certainly can be kind to them and care for them. And, if they're having a hard day, you can certainly ask them if there's anything you can do to help them out, or just be kind and friendly. But in terms of a charitable perspective, absolutely. You need to be able to have that security and safety in your own home so that you can then use that extra to help other people.
Well, let me ask you something. For example, in terms of helping others, my son right now is working a construction job. He was working in the oil fields. Those jobs kind of went away for a while, so he's working construction. He came home night before last, and he said, "I'm working on the job, and there's this young lady working with me, and she's really nice, but today," she said, "if I find it too hard to do my part of the job, can you help me out?" And I thought, I know my reaction might have been different. I think his was pretty much close to mine. If you can't do the job, you probably shouldn't be out here doing the job and collecting a paycheck, and you can't very well expect your coworkers to pick up your slack. Is that, how do you fit that into the model of helping others?
Absolutely. I mean, it could, I look at it from a perspective of children, and, I kind of see my own daughters. And, if my daughter says to my other daughter, "I really don't feel like cleaning up my room today. Can you do it for me?" Well, no, that's not acceptable. I think you need to be able to pull your own weight, and you can't get a paycheck for not doing the job. You have to be responsible. You have to be a team player. But, if she broke her arm and she said, "Can you pick something up for me today because I broke my arm," that's one thing. But if she's saying, "I really can't do this job, but I really want to get paid," I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I think your son made a good call on that.
although you know what you just made me think of, Danielle. And remember the Tom Sawyer books, and in it, Tom Sawyer figures out how to get all his friends from the neighborhood to whitewash the fence that he didn't want to, because he told them what a cool job it was, and pretty soon he's sitting on the porch and they're all doing the work. But he did it. He did it by simply convincing them that it was a lot of fun to whitewash the fence.
Right. I guess he was a good businessman. I guess we can say that.
a good businessman and a good negotiator. But where do you think the gaps are? Because I really want you to share this with the parents who are listening tonight. Where do you think that they're missing it, and perhaps inadvertently and unintentionally instilling the wrong values?
I think they're missing it with that old saying, "Do as I say and not as I do." I think we really have to model for our kids the behavior that we want. So, I tell my daughters, if you go on a date, and hopefully it's not till they're 50 or 60, and you go out with a man and he is rude to the server and he is disrespectful to them, that's not someone you want to be with. You need to model good behavior. If you say to your child, I want you to be, a team player, and you're screaming at the coach at your team game, they're going to see that behavior, and they're really not going to want to, they're not going to want to be a team player because they want to do what mom and dad do. So I think that's the disconnect. We can't just say do something if we aren't doing it ourselves.
No, and I agree with that. Although, come on, Danielle, tell me the truth. When you were in high school, did you like to date the bad boys, the ones that didn't necessarily behave as well as the good boys?
Sadly, I did not. Because my parents were really tough, and I always knew that what was worse, a great date or the wrath of my parents.
Well, I mean, because, you see that behavior. I mean, it's not just young ladies, it's also the young men. Sometimes the young men want to date the bad girls, the one that do engage in misbehavior. And you think, well, how do you get them to like the ones that they're really going to want to spend the rest of their lives with? It may be exciting to be with a young lady when you're 20, who's out doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Not so exciting when you're 40 and she's still doing the crazy stuff.
Right. I wish I knew. I can definitely give you advice from a preschool perspective, but being a mom of a teenager, I need to know. I need that information myself.
Well, tell me this. Is there something we need to do? Are we giving out too many participation trophies? And I'll tell you, this comes from my conservative point of view. It's like everybody wants a trophy and everybody wants a reward. Well, when I swam on the swim team, I was proud of the third and fourth place finishes I got because I knew I wasn't as good a swimmer, nor could I become as good a swimmer as some of the people who were better suited to it. But I was still proud of third place if I honestly earned third place. I didn't need a participation trophy. And on the matches I lost, I said, well, okay, I lost, fair and square. Do we need to teach kids that too?
Yeah, I think that this policy of giving children a trophy just because they show up and doing the minimal amount that's expected of them is not a good way to get kids ready for the real world. I mean, that's not life. It's interesting how every day you get a little tickler on LinkedIn that says, congratulations, Bob, for making it a year at your job. Well, isn't Bob supposed to be able to make it a year at his job? Does he really need a big congratulations from 400 people? Great job, Bob. I absolutely agree with that. I've even told my daughter was on a soccer team, and she really didn't like soccer, and she went to maybe 2 out of 20 games, and at the end, the coach said, why don't you come down and get your trophy, and I wouldn't let her go. That's a good call. Danielle, thank you very much. Danielle Lindner with the London Day School, and you've got the...